Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Fuse News, coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. Manchester Students' Union has released a timeline for the upcoming student elections in 2021. This will be the 160th annual election that the university has held. Any current University of Manchester student is eligible for nomination for either a full-time paid executive officer role or a part-time officer role. SU officers will be acting as a mediating panel to communicate student needs with the university from August 2021 to 2022. Students have the opportunity to vote for candidates who they feel will best represent them and their needs. The election period timeline will work as follows. From the 11th of January to the 7th of February, candidate training will be taking place. Following that, from the 8th to the 21st of February, nominations will begin. The 22nd of February to the 7th of March will involve campaign prep. Then, students will be able to vote from the 8th to the 11th of March, and the results will be announced on the 12th of March. For more information on executive positions and part-time officer roles and the election timeline, visit the UOM Students' Union website. Sharad has the latest updates on coronavirus and Christmas.
Good morning, I'm Sharad Jakun and you're watching Fuse News. On Wednesday, London moved into the very high alert tier. This is the highest level of the three-tier system of local restrictions designed to stop the spread of COVID-19. It has also been announced that parts of Hertfordshire and Essex moved into Tier 3. More places are soon to follow. From Saturday, millions of people in the southeast of England will also be placed under the very high alert tier. After these changes come into effect on Saturday, this means that 38 million people living in England will be under the Tier 3 restrictions. Christmas restrictions have become tighter in Wales. The new rules state that Christmas bubbles can only include 2 households and 1 additional person. Previously, up to 3 households were allowed. This comes after Wales entered Alert Level 4, the highest level of restrictions set by the Welsh Government. There is widespread confusion among the public over the Christmas rules set by the government. While the Christmas rules have already been drawn up, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, as well as other politicians, have urged people not to travel far, meet up with the elderly, among other things. Many in the scientific community have stressed that a 3-household Christmas bubble plan will result in a huge increase in COVID-19 cases. Reports of confusion across the country have been coming in, as people are no longer sure what is and isn't allowed during the festive period. The Prime Minister has said to exercise extreme caution when gathering with families. In other news, health authorities have discovered a new variant of the COVID-19 virus spreading through southeast England, and have suggested that the variant may be causing the virus to spread at a faster rate. The BBC reports that this is something which scientists are keeping an eye on, although there is limited information at this time about the new strain.
The UK is in its second week of distributing the COVID-19 vaccine. More than 130,000 key workers and high-risk people have been vaccinated against COVID-19 since the Pfizer-BioNTech jab was rolled out earlier this month. The government aims to eventually offer the vaccine to anyone in the UK aged 50 or over, as well as young people with health conditions, which totals around 25 million. Alongside clinically vulnerable people, over 2 million frontline healthcare workers, care home staff, and social workers are also being vaccinated over the coming weeks. Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine is what's known as an mRNA vaccine, which uses parts of genetic code to cause an immune response. This means it does not alter human cells, but merely presents the body with instructions to build immunity to COVID. I spoke to Miriam, a nurse at Salford Royal Hospital, about her experience receiving the vaccine.
How did you find getting the vaccine?
It was fine. My arm hurt the next day, but some people have said that it has hurt. Some people said it hasn't hurt the next day, but my arm really hurt the next day. And that's been it. It's basically like, I don't know if anyone had HPV jabs in school, but it's pretty much the exact same thing, apart from minus boys punch you in the arm.
Did everybody who you work with get the vaccine?
So there's a list goes up each day and you write your name on the list, or it's like organised. So I think at the moment it's sort of 50-50 of people who are going to get it. And not everyone's being forced to get it, because obviously majority of our people who work in my area anyway are not high risk, so it's not like they need to get it. But I think the main reason that people in hospitals are wanting to get it is obviously because we are in contact with it, and we're already so short-staffed that it really has a massive effect if people go off sick, be that for coronavirus or something else.
Cool. And you had your first jab?
Yeah, so I had my first jab, and then my next jab is in January.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And I got a little card, and you basically they write you a card with the vaccine you have, and then your next appointment, and then hopefully I get to wear it around my neck when I go to clubs.
Awesome.
UNICEF has announced it will provide domestic aid within the UK for the first time in its history, in the bid to help feed hungry children hit hardest by the pandemic this Christmas. The UN-funded body has likened the socio-economic effects of the global pandemic on youngsters to the Second World War. They have pledged a grant of £25,000 to the charity School Food Matters, which will distribute food boxes over the 2-week Christmas holidays to families in Southwark, South London. Each food box is said to give enough food for 10 breakfasts, with their total grant coming to £700,000 to help support other similar projects. Commons leader Jacob Rees-Mogg came under fire yesterday for saying UNICEF was playing party politics and should be ashamed of themselves.
I think it's a real scandal that UNICEF should be playing politics in this way, when it is meant to be looking after people in the poorest, the most deprived countries in the world, where people are starving, where there are famines and where there are civil wars, and they make cheap political points of this kind, giving, I think, £25,000 to one council. It is a political stunt of the lowest order. But what has this government done about child poverty? We are committed to our manifesto pledge to reduce child poverty. We've expanded free school meals to all 5 to 7-year-olds, benefiting 1.4 million children. We doubled free childcare for eligible working parents, and will establish a £1 billion childcare fund, giving parents the support and freedom to look after children. We're spending £400 million of taxpayers' money to support children, families and the most vulnerable over winter and through 2021. Since 2010 to 2018-19, there are 100,000 fewer children in absolute poverty in this country. This is a record of successive conservatism, and UNICEF should be ashamed of itself.
And now for the international headlines with Tom.
Yes, Anya, the top US military official, Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley, met with Taliban representatives this week in Qatar, urging them to reduce the level of violence and act more swiftly towards a political solution in Afghanistan. There's been a rise in violence, undermining the best hope for ending the war that has ravaged Afghanistan since 2001. Now, Downing Street has confirmed that British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will travel to India in January to strengthen a key strategic relationship that supports jobs and investment across the UK. He'll also be the guest of honour for the Republic Day parade in India for 2021. This will be the PM's first major bilateral visit since taking office, and the first since the departure of Great Britain from the EU. The global tally of COVID-positive cases has crossed the 75 million mark, out of which 1.6 million people have lost their lives. Globally, the US, Brazil, the UK, Germany and Turkey are getting the highest number of new COVID cases, with yesterday French President Emmanuel Macron testing positive for COVID-19. New Zealand and Australia have agreed to share a travel bubble in which travellers between the two countries will not be required to quarantine. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said trips under the agreement could begin early next year. However, the much anticipated deal will depend on the COVID-19 situation in both countries remaining as it is in the current period. And after weeks of space travel, China's Chang'e 5 probe came back to Earth with fresh lunar rock and soil samples in the early morning of Thursday. The precious cargo is the first lunar sample that humanity has obtained in more than 4 decades. The Chang'e 5 mission, which includes a lander, an ascender, an orbiter and a returner, was launched on the 24th of November. And finally, the Students' Union established a new initiative this semester, which aims to bring the student community together and provide guidance to many students in need. Anya has more on this story.
Thanks, Tom. Manchester Students' Union has established a peer buddy volunteering scheme, which aims to provide peer-to-peer support for students. The scheme is scheduled to run until February 2021. Support will be provided remotely, and each buddy will be in contact with their peer a couple of times a week, either by phone or video call, at a time which suits both students. The scheme is open to all students, whether to get extra support or to be paired with a buddy. You can sign up to participate in the scheme and become a peer mentor buddy, or to be supported by the scheme on the Volunteer Hub. I spoke to Jennifer McKay, the SU Volunteering and Fundraising Manager, about the scheme. Thank you so much for talking to me today. How has the buddy scheme gone so far?
Really well. I think it's really exceeded our expectations, anything we could have sort of imagined when we started the project about 8 weeks ago.
Brilliant. And how many people have been involved in the buddy scheme? I realised that it's both as sort of people who are calling the buddies and those who are receiving the support. So what's the total numbers?
Overall on the scheme, we've had around 800 students register their interest. So that's total, both as participants and as volunteers. So it's been amazing.
What kind of support is the scheme trying to offer to students?
So primarily the scheme is there for social support. So just recognising that a lot of students are isolating, maybe directly because of COVID, or maybe also that they had planned to be in Manchester and haven't been able to, or that they've come to a new city and they don't know anyone and it's really hard to meet people.
Wonderful. And for anybody looking to get involved, what's the best way for them to sign up?
If you're looking to get involved either as a participant or as a volunteer, on the SU website there's a blog post that gives a bit of an overview of the scheme from both sides, so you can decide which role is going to be best suited for you. So for our participants, you fill in a quick form and it tells us a bit about what you're looking for in a buddy, some of your hobbies and interests, if you'd like to be matched on your course, and you also give us some emergency contact details. For our volunteers, we use the Volunteer Hub. So you make an account with your Student My Manchester and you can sign up as a volunteer really quickly. Again, you just tell us a bit about your hobbies and interests, if you would be happy to be matched based on your course, and just a bit about why you want to be involved in the scheme. So for our volunteers, we give them an overview about services at the university, at the SU, and also locally in Manchester, just so that if they are matched with someone who's maybe struggling a bit, they would know some good kind of intro advice to be able to give them. They'd be able to signpost them to places to get some extra help and support. But we've also worked really closely with our advice service at the Students' Union, so they help support our volunteer team as well.
That's all from us here this week on Fuse News at the University of Manchester. Happy holidays, and we'll be back in the new year with more news updates. Bye for now.